What's going on, friends and family? Welcome to My Thoughts Uncut. I'm your host, Terrence Manning. Today, we're going to talk about the French heist. Yes, the French jewelry heist that took place not too long ago. We're going to look at ABC's point of view, the New York Post, and CNN and see what they have to say. Let's check it out. This should be fun. This should be fun.
Underway in Paris after a daring jewel heist at the Louvre earlier this morning. Authorities say 3 people made off with jewelry from the world-renowned museum's Napoleon collection. The individuals were reportedly dressed as construction workers and escaped on motorbikes. For more on this, foreign correspondent Marcus Moore joins.
So not only they were dressed as construction workers, which blends in, they went on motorbikes, which is pretty common in France.
Now from London, Marcus, what are we learning about this and how it all unfolded?
Hey, Andrew, really some startling details in all of this. This robbery happened just as the Louvre was opening this morning, right around 9:30 in the morning. We learned from authorities that 4 robbers in all, arrived at the museum in Paris, and they were, as you mentioned, wearing construction outfits, and they apparently used a mobile exterior freight elevator, if you will, to get up to the Apollo room, and that is where these crown jewels are kept. Andrew, this robbery went on for 7 minutes. In that 7 minutes, they managed to break open these cases, break the glass open, and steal 9 pieces of jewelry. And then they left the building, and they took off, as you just mentioned, on motorbikes. And there's been this urgent manhunt for them ever since.
7 minutes is extremely long time when you're trying to steal from a museum. That's a long time. So this has to be some kind of inside job. 7 minutes is a very long time. You may not think so, but when you are trying to rob a museum with all those, I would assume they had security there, and this is in broad daylight. It's not like it was at nighttime when the museum was closed. This is everybody's in the museum walking around. Oh man, this is like Ocean's 11 or Inside Job.
So authorities are looking for these 4 people, and we have learned a short time ago that officials did recover 1 piece that was apparently dropped, and they also recovered a construction vest and possibly a radio that was used during this heist. But what we've heard from the Interior Minister, and based on all of the details that we've learned about this, Andrew, this was really a sophisticated and, as you mentioned, a brazen robbery happening as the museum was opening. So there were people there. In fact, we heard from an American who was in line to get into the museum. She described the chaos that ensued afterwards, the police officers running to that scene to try to respond to the robbery and catch up with these suspects. So this happened at really an incredible time, and we're waiting to learn new details about exactly what was taken, but certainly invaluable items that were stolen in this brazen robbery, Andrew.
Sounds like something out of a movie, Marcus. And I want to bring in art theft and museum expert Anthony Amore. Anthony, what typically happens to these kinds of valuable objects once they are stolen? And are they usually recovered intact, or is there a risk they could be broken or damaged and essentially sold for parts?
That's the key question. I mean, it's in every instance, something different seems to happen. So the biggest fear, of course,
that's going to be tough to sell.
Something you just articulated.
Nobody's going to want that.
Take a complex piece of jewelry with many jewels in it. The fear is that it gets broken up and sold because a consumer will have a very, very difficult time telling that, hey, this emerald came from, say, a crown. The piece that Marcus mentioned was dropped and left behind had 1,500 diamonds in it.
That's another thing. So for the thieves, you stole this, and how do you expect to make a profit from this? Because who's going to give you any kind of money for these stolen items? This is a worldwide thing that's going on. Everybody knows about this heist. So who's going to be the one that decides, okay, I'll take it? And you can't break it apart like he says. And maybe they did it for the thrill, just to collect it, because you went through all that trouble and you're not going to be able to sell it, and you can't break it apart. So I'm not sure. Maybe it was for the thrill of just doing it and just getting notoriety of the notoriety of being the person that did this in broad daylight, because I don't know what other reason you stole it for. There's no way you're going to be able to sell it. At least in the movies, like usually it's because of like Inside Job. They had a plot that they wanted to take a certain thing for evidence, but they weren't trying to steal anything to sell. And same with Ocean's 11. It's actual money that they were stealing. They weren't stealing an item that they can't resell. This is crazy.
And dozens of emeralds. So you can imagine how valuable it would be if it's taken apart and sold piece by piece.
I think the one thing that's striking or remarkable, Anthony, is that this happened in broad daylight. What's your take on this happening in a highly trafficked
that
gallery
takes
at one of the
balls
most popular
and
museums in
planning.
the world?
Well, that's true. It's incredibly brazen. But when you look at the scene outside where the ladder is on a lift on a truck leading up to the museum, I think most people can imagine if you were approaching the Louvre and you saw that, you would probably think it's business as usual. You wouldn't assume it's some major theft. As far as that gallery, there is some confusing information coming out, which is typical in the early stages of an investigation. But whether that particular gallery was open at this time, it's possible that people had made their way up to it yet, or that section of the building wasn't open yet. So that remains to be seen. But I will say that daytime thefts are not all that unusual. These sort of smash and grab type crimes are unfortunately rather typical.
Marcus Moore and Anthony Amore, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, sir. All right, let's take a look at what the New York Post has to say.
A group of well-trained and really organized thieves broke into the Louvre Museum in Paris and in a matter of minutes successfully made off with priceless jewels, at least one that once belonged to Napoleon's wife. This is not a new Ocean's 11 movie. This actually happened yesterday, and what is even crazier, it was in broad daylight, and the museum was open with tourists and security and people in it. The jewel thieves, dressed as construction workers, used an aerial lift to get up to a window, and then they had portable saws to cut through the glass of both the window and then the case where the jewels were on display. They made off with their haul on, are you ready for this? Scooters. It's so very French. Now, it would seem in their haste they may have dropped one item, a crown believed to belong to Napoleon's wife, Empress Eugenie, which was discovered damaged outside of the gallery. A group of well-trained...
Yeah, so let's take a look at CNN and see what they have to say. And they actually have a closer look at the items, or at least one of them that they dropped.
Manhunt underway after masked thieves stole priceless jewels from the most famous museum in the world, the Louvre. Still shuttered after French crown jewels, literally, including a sapphire tiara and an emerald necklace set among 1,000 diamonds, were taken in a wild 7-minute heist on Sunday. Only 4 of those minutes were spent inside the museum. The rest was getting in.
I had no idea it was... It was actually people. I thought maybe that area was empty, but people were inside the museum. I didn't know it was like this. This is great. This has to be an inside job. They had the right tools. They knew exactly the time to go to get this done. There's no way. There's no way it's not an inside job.
In and out undetected. You don't do that without prior planning. Isosaurus is out front.
Look at this.
Diversion. Make a lot of noise over there. So over here in this room, you can take 100 million.
This is only in the movies, man. This not supposed to be real.
No diversion was needed for the 4 masked robbers who broke into the Louvre Museum in Paris on Sunday morning, stealing priceless French crown jewels in broad daylight, just minutes after the world's largest museum opened its doors. The Louvre remained closed on Monday as France grappled with one question. How could the world's most visited museum be robbed with such brazen audacity? It was a plot that played out like a Hollywood movie. Around 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, 4 thieves posing as workers wearing yellow vests used a moving elevator ladder to reach the second-floor balcony of the museum. The perpetrators then forced open a window using an angle grinder and entered the Apollo Gallery, sawing open the display location for the
This is a
treasures of the
meticulous
French crown
plan.
jewels. As alarm bells rang, they grabbed 9 of the Louvre's most valuable treasures, the priceless 19th century French crown jewels. Among them, a dazzling crown adorned with 24 sapphires.
Hey, you give that to a lady, it's over. She yours for life.
1,083 diamonds. Also stolen,
That's
a
a lot of
diamond and
diamonds.
sapphire necklace and a pair of earrings, seen here in this painting of Queen Marie Amélie in 1836.
That's money right there.
And a glittering bow with more than 2,000 diamonds.
Jeez.
Clever to use a cherry picker and a glass cutter to steal priceless, well, sentimentally priceless jewels from the Louvre. The fact that it was done in daylight is also astounding.
Yeah.
It took only 7 minutes for the robbers to re-emerge with 9 pieces of jewelry.
That's a long time for a
apparently
daylight
from
when
the
people are
same
there. I don't
window.
care what they say.
What's sure is we failed because someone was able to put up an elevator truck in the open, in the streets of Paris, have people walk up for a few minutes and take priceless jewels and give France a deplorable image.
Thankfully, one of the most
Look at
precious
that.
items, a crown Napoleon gave his wife, Empress Eugenie, was dropped by the thieves as they sped away on high-powered scooters along the banks of the Seine.
Damn. That might have been the most expensive item that they had. That crown, that I'm telling you. This is crazy. They said that the thieves got away with tens of millions of euros. So imagine if they would have had that crown that didn't drop. So, but look, let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button. I'll see you next time. Au revoir.